What's up, YouTube? How's everyone doing? My name is Baimi. I'm an artist. I love to share my process, document my journey, and share art inspiration videos with you. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not, welcome back. I hope that you will subscribe if you haven't done that already. Today, I have a very interesting, new, fresh video for you. Another art tutorial video for you, something that I have been working on for the past, I think, maybe a little over 3 weeks now. It's a very new project for me. It's something I have never done before, but something that I've been willing to try. I've never worked with mirror tiles. So this was a very interesting one for me. It's something that I've always wanted to dabble in, and this was my very first attempt. And so to be very honest with you, this one was really challenging. It's not the easiest working with mirror tiles. And so I learned a lot from this project. And to be very honest with you, and I want you guys to let me know what you think. I am not very sure that I want to put this up for sale just because I'm still thinking through a few quality control issues when you work with mirror tiles, especially when you're doing 3D artwork. Um, it's you can never line them up straight or perfectly because you're working with something that is set in its shape. And so I'm still thinking through how to work with breaking some of the tiles to fit in more, especially the corners. So let me know what you think. I generally want to hear your thoughts and comments. My very thought at the moment is I'm just going to sit with it. I don't get me wrong, I am absolutely in love with this piece. I love it so much. So I do not, I'm not against keeping it for myself. But let me know what you think. I think at the moment where I'm at is I'm just going to sit with it for some time and see how I emote or what my feelings devolve into with time. And so yeah, let's let's see. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking so much about it and show you the piece in real life, in real time. I'm just gonna click this on here so that I can use my hands while talking to you. But yes, this is the piece. I am really in love with it. It took me so many hours to be able to lay these tiles on them, and I made mistakes with this, and I had moments where I had to go in and remove tiles that I already laid. And so I will be sharing every tip and trick that I learned in the process during the tutorial. So make sure to stay tuned for that if this is something that you're interested in. But I will say it is absolutely, absolutely worth the effort, the time, the process, because it's so beautiful. I wish I could show you right now the way my living room looks like, the way it's lighting up the walls. It's really magical. Maybe I will try to insert a clip or two. I don't know. We'll see. But honestly, it looks amazing. I am absolutely in love with it. I hope that you can see it behind me as well. But yeah, this is the piece. This is what the back looks like. Let me know what you think, guys. I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this piece? I am absolutely mesmerized by this piece of art. Honestly, it was worth every sweat, every time, every backache that went into it, every micro piece of glass that went into my fingers. It was worth it. And if you want to see the process of how this came about, let's get into it. Okay, so to start off, I am prepping my canvas, removing all previously attached fixtures, cleaning it up because it's an old piece that I have had on hand for quite some time. I believe I thrifted it a couple years ago. Next, I am prepping the wire mesh, eyeballing the size, looking at what I think will be enough for the vision that I have in mind, cutting it as well. It's really important that when I work with the wire mesh, I really do try to not rush myself because this is the foundation of the piece. If I do not like the shape, or if I'm not able to make my vision come alive, then I am not going to like the piece. So it's really important to work really slowly. Just take your time when you're working with the wire mesh. Again, I always say to wear gloves. Wire mesh is always really sharp. I don't like to wear gloves. That's because I love to live life on the edge, but do not be like me. And this is a closer look at my workflow, my process. I'm trying to be more mindful of the way that I film so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. I hope that you appreciate this up close view. I don't really like to film the entirety of my mesh process, as I like to think of it, because there's a lot of stopping, thinking, assessing the piece, making sure that the shape is coming out in the exact way that I want it to be. And so I will just say that the basic process of this is to work in sections, staple when you're sure that you have a piece done or a section done. But here I'm showing you I have the complete frame. This is another day. It's now ready for plaster bandages since I have the complete frame done. Working with plaster bandages is pretty much a repetitive process. You wet your plaster bandages, you put it over the wire mesh, and you smoothen it out with a brush or with your fingers. Or as I prefer to do when I'm filming, I like to wet the brush instead and use that to wet the plaster bandage. That way I can keep my hands relatively clean for filming. It's probably helpful to note that when you dip the plaster bandages in water and just put that over your frame, it's a faster process rather than going in and dipping in the brush and using that to work with the plaster bandage. However, the other thing that you want to steer clear of is when you dip the plaster bandages in water, they do tend to roll up, and that can cause inconsistencies in your work in the form of bumps that you may need to have to work extra hard to sand down at the end of the day. So just be careful with your technique. I know that the more you work with plaster bandages, the more you get a hang of how you prefer to work with it. There's no one size fits all. So I share, all of my thoughts and allow you to pick and choose. Another tip that I want to leave you with is when you're working with the corners or the ends, the wire mesh tends to stick out at those areas. And so I love to go in and triple or double the plaster bandages so that it can have a better coverage on the wire mesh. Anyway, once all of your frame is completely covered with the plaster bandages, it is now time to go in and start to layer with your plaster mixture. I've mentioned in previous videos that before I think about sanding, I like to have at least 3 to 4 layers of plaster over my mixture, and this also depends on how thick my mixture is. So there's no one size fits all, as I like to say, but always make sure to have multiple layers of plaster. And this is helpful because if you work and begin to sand with really thin layers of plaster, you will sand down to the wire, to the plaster bandages very quickly. And you don't want that at all. Here I am applying my fourth or fifth layer of plaster prior to sanding. And the other thing that it's really important to note is you should give it ample amount of time for it to dry prior to sanding. This can go anywhere from 24 to 72 hours before you sand your piece, depending on how thickly you've applied your plaster mixture. Anyway, it is sanding day. Make sure that you're maxed up for this. You do not want to be breathing in any of those dust particles. Make sure to protect your health. I also know that some people prefer to wear gloves. I just, for some reason, very glove averse. I tend to not work well when I have gloves in my way, but do what you can to protect yourself. Masks or respirators are non-negotiables. When I am starting my sanding process, I like to go in first with a sanding block and just sort of buff out those really rough bumps and continue my work with sanding paper. This one is really interesting though. I do not really care to have the smoothest finish because I know that all of the art will be completely covered in mirror tiles, and so it does not need to be the smoothest. Once sanding is completed, all you see me doing here is just brushing off all that extra dust off of the artwork. Also off camera, I did go in and primed the piece with my go-to household primer just to ensure that the mirror tiles are able to stick well. Dust will not allow that to happen, and so that's a step that you probably do not want to skip. Now it is time to stick on the mirror tiles. I will say that the biggest, most important lesson that I learned with this is pick a starting point and stick with that. You see this part that I am working on, I ended up having to go in and remove it because I chose a different starting point right after I stuck this on, which you'll see in the next clip. But when you're working on an irregular surface like this, where you cannot guarantee that all of your tiles will match up or line up in the perfect way possible, the best thing is to work in really small sections. And so I ultimately chose this as my starting point just because I had more of a manageable surface to work with. And I know that I mentioned to work in really small sections, and I am still sort of working with the bigger pieces of mirror tiles. But the one thing I can tell you was this was the only part of the entire piece that I was able to stick on the mirror tiles as they came. Going forward, I really did take my time and I worked in the tiniest sections possible. I mean, I was working line by line, and that is the best way to make sure that you're able to have more flexibility with coverage and minimize gaps. As you can see here, I am working line by line, and this allows me to be able to work with the mirror tiles in a way that works with the shape of the artwork. That way I'm able to sort of bend them around, well, not necessarily bend them around, but create the illusion of bending. As much as possible, try to wear gloves while you're doing this. It's very easy for you to get micro shards of glass in your fingers when you're working with mirror tiles. I did initially wear gloves, but I really struggled because the gloves kept sticking to the mirror tiles. And so I, again, chose to take a risk. But if you can, definitely wear gloves. I also wanted to point out that this section that I am working on was the very first section that I stuck on the huge slab of mirror tiles. And so this is proof that I actually had to remove it to make sure that all of the tile pieces were able to fit. There was just no way that was going to work because I then chose to work from a different starting point. And so to be able to make sure that the pieces flow in the way that they did, it was important to pick one starting point and stick to that. If there's nothing else you pick up from this tutorial, do that, pick that. And this is the final look. I am completely obsessed with it, as you probably already know. It came out a lot better than I was expecting. A lot of this process really did make me understand the phrase trust the process. And I would say overall, my vision came to light. I love it. So yeah, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching my tutorial. I hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that you learned a lot from my mistakes, from my process, and that this was something that was really entertaining for you to watch. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. As a reminder, if you've not subscribed, I would really appreciate it. Honestly, it goes a long way to support my effort as an artist and as a content creator. So don't hesitate to, subscribe, join the fam. I always say this in every video. I'm really inspired. There's so much I'm working on at any given moment. And so if you want to be in the know, you want to see more videos like this, don't hesitate. Before I forget, all of the links will be left in the description if you'd like to check my art portfolio, or if you like to shop any of my available pieces of art, you can just head on over to my website or my Etsy store, wherever feels most comfortable for you. Oh, at the moment, I have a sale going on for Valentine's, so make sure to take advantage of that. You can get 20% off either from my website or from my Etsy store. I mean, it does go a long way, and there is free shipping worldwide. Wherever you're based, I can ship this to you, and it is for free. There are no hidden costs, no hidden fees. Whatever you see as the price of the art is exactly what you'll be paying. And so, well, minus tax, of course, but with all of that said, if you're interested in any of my pieces, or if you just want to check out my website, see a lot of my processes, please do not hesitate. All of the links will be left in the description box. If you'd like to follow my process on social media, definitely make sure to check out my Instagram or my TikTok, wherever you love to go. I will truly appreciate your support. And as always, please feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always looking to hear from you guys. I'm looking to build a community as much as possible. And so I want to hear from you. And so, with all of that said, I will see you all in my next video. Take care. Bye.